Well, a recent survey showed that 2/3 of American adults don't expect their finances to improve in 2023, with inflation and debt as the top reasons driving this kind of negative outlook. Here to talk about how we can have a better outlook on our finances this year by saving more, cutting back on spending, and paying down our debt is Schoolsfirst Credit Union's Roseville branch manager, Travis Mara. Good to have you here, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So a little bit of doom and gloom, but you're going to bring up our mood a little bit
Definitely.
on how to save here. So should we put off our saving goals and wait for maybe the inflation outlook to get a little bit better?
Yeah, that's a great question, and things can seem a little bleak, but the answer to that is no, absolutely not. Okay. We really. It is very difficult and more challenging to save nowadays, but it is doable. And we really need to make savings a priority, especially when we consider only 4 out of 10 adult Americans have at least $1,000 set aside for those unexpected emergencies. So should you encounter an emergency and not have that savings, you're going to rely on a credit card. And say that credit card is at 16%. It's going to take you 9 years to pay that off by just making the minimum payment. On top of that, you're going to be paying nearly $800 in interest. So you can see it's very expensive to be putting off your savings plans. Even just $5 a month adds up over time. So there really isn't any amount that's too small to start saving with.
And that's a good point. Just even doing $5, putting that away, it's something. It's rather
For
than nothing, doing nothing about it. But I think this is a common question too, maybe you have out there too, is how do you save more if my income isn't increasing?
Yeah, and that kind of leads us to another goal, which is spending less. If you find yourself in a position where I can't increase my income, then reducing expenses is a great way to kind of free up some extra cash that you can apply to that savings or debt goals. The first thing you want to do is really understand your expenses and create a budget. First, keep it simple. Just start with how much money am I bringing in, and then what are my necessary expenses? That's your food, your housing, your gas, and your loan payments. And then take a look at, what am I spending on things that I necessarily don't need? Reducing those is a great way of kind of itemizing, is this a need or a want, and kind of put you in a better kind of financial state.
That's a really good point, because I think I need my coffee in the morning from a certain store, but maybe I don't need it.
For sure, don't we all? And that's how we start the day. And that's a great question. Do we cancel those kind of commuter coffees? And it really depends on what are your goals. When you start creating that budget, you will start recognizing what are those unnecessary expenses. Am I eating out too often? Can I scale that back? I think we're all guilty of these new streaming services. I have tons of them for my kids. And are we really using them, or can we cancel them? But some of these unnecessary expenses are harder to find. The big trend right now is delivery for food and groceries, and a lot of those costs are built in. And 44% of Americans are using food and grocery delivery services, paying $900 a year. So if you are in a position to get your own groceries or pick up your own food, that's $900 back into your account. Other areas are banking fees. Take a look at your bank statement. How much are you paying on ATM fees, overdraft fees, even just your monthly convenience fee? If you are spending about $25 a month on banking, that's another $300 that we could put back into the account. So a couple simple measures, is meal planning. That will help maximize going to the grocery store, reduce how many times we go out, and shop around. Look for alternative banking solutions, and cut out some of those convenience service fees that aren't necessary for you.
Those are great tips. And I want to go back to what you mentioned in the beginning about that $1,000 credit card charge and how it takes so long to pay it off if you're not paying off.
Scary.
So should we be trying to pay off our credit card debt?
Yeah, it's a great call. Obviously, we want to pay off our debt each month, but if we're in a position where we can't, then paying down your balance as much as possible is the next priority. Now, I'm not saying don't use credit, because ironically, if you don't use credit, it actually negatively impacts your credit. And we know how important the credit score is to get the lowest rates, which will save you money going forward. So it's kind of two-way sword of having to use it, but use it responsibly. So we want to use good spending habits. Use the credit, but not more than that 30% threshold. Make sure we're making those payments on time and keep those balances low. Now, for some of us that do carry quite a bit of debt, we really want to kind of use a similar saving strategy from earlier. Look at your budget and see how much can I apply to that card each month. And you want to make that payment as soon as you get paid. But one thing I want to caution you is, when we're analyzing that, we want to put as much as we can over the minimum, but not more that's going to make us uncomfortable, because the last thing we want to do is deplete all of our funds, and now we need to use those credit cards to make ends meet.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else that we should put into place?
Yeah, obviously, retirement savings, that's kind of the first thing that we postpone because we don't even think about it, but that is always a key. We encourage you to continue that no matter what, especially employers do a lot of matching. But, at Schools First, we offer a lot of great resources. Check us out online. We have free calculators on budgeting, saving, reducing your debts, as well as other ideas to get you on track in a good financial place. So check us out at schoolsfirstfcu.org.
Give you the website right there. Thank you, sir. Great tips.
Oh, thank you.
Great tips. Those are some really wonderful tips. Thank you so much for being here, sir. So for more information, you can go to schoolsfirstfcu.org.